Hello, everyone, and welcome to Cappuccino with HR. My name is Rudi Bauer, and after 40 years in business, I'm 100% sure that the success of companies is directly related to the passion of the people working for these companies. With the Cappuccino of HR, we created a format where we really invite people. It's HR leaders, it's recruiters, it's talent acquisition guys, and we're talking about all the different kind of topics. And the range is going from AI, of course, to new work, to leadership, and all the challenges along the way. Yeah, hello and welcome to a new episode of Cappuccino with HR. And today I'm really delighted to have Daisy Ilaria as my guest. And she's located, if I'm right, in Amsterdam. She's hosting her own podcast, so a very successful one. So that's really nice that I've got a podcast host as my guest today. So Daisy, welcome in my show.
Thank you so much. Always a tad nervous being a guest, being on the other side. This is why I'm a host normally, but challenge accepted. Let's do this.
Wonderful. And I think we have really found a really cool topic to discuss about today as well. It's employee happiness. And I really love this topic because I think at the end of the day, we are all spending big parts of our life in our jobs. And I think what's the best than having happy times in what we do throughout our life. So I'm really looking forward to discuss that with you and to get your thoughts, ideas, and kind of experience on that as well. Before we start, there's always two questions. The first one is, could you quickly introduce yourself in a few sentences for the audience not knowing you, not listening to the podcast?
Oh, you're not listening to the podcast? Why not? So I'm Daisy Ilaria. I have been in talent acquisition and recruitment in the last decade. It makes me sound old. I'm not old. But for the last decade, worked in corporate, as an agency recruiter, as a freelancer. So I've seen everything, big companies, startups. I kind of got sick with the whole hiring freezes, restructures, layoffs, the root cause of what's kind of shaking up the world of corporate. So now I've pivoted to workplace happiness and workplace strategies, where I'm now giving workshops on this exact topic, helping teams and leaders understand each other and collaborate and deal with uncertainties and have psychological safety again, because there's a really big issue at the moment. So in summary, I am an ex-recruiter turned workplace strategist.
Thank you for that. And the second one is, it's called Cappuccino with HR. What's your favorite coffee? I mean, I need to ask you that.
Yes, as an Italian, I should say cappuccino, but I do love black coffee. Just standard black coffee with no sugar, no milk.
So the Americano style.
I know. My dad would kill me if he saw this video. He would kill me, but I do love a black coffee.
Yeah. So let's jump into the topic. And I mean, the topic is so nice that we were in the preparation together with Ivana and our team. We found two titles that definitely could fit. So one was Beyond Perks, Building a Culture of Employee Happiness, which I really like. And the second one is even nicer from my point of view. It's Employee Happiness. Is it the underrated growth engine? And that is probably the first question that I want to drop. What do you think? Is it underrated in companies today? I mean, we're all shareholder focused, we're all shareholder minded. I mean, it's always shareholder value, it's profit. Do we think enough about employee happiness? Is it underrated in times like this, especially when we have crisis out there?
Exactly what you said. In times of crisis, is it important? With the highest burnout rates in Europe, in Portugal, in the Netherlands as well, in the UK, in the US, etc. It's just growing alarmingly, with layoffs, restructures, AI taking over our jobs or automating our jobs. There's so much uncertainty. The world of work isn't what it used to be 100 years ago, right? And 100 years ago, Henry Ford in 1926 created the 9-to-5 work structure, which worked back then. And I think in times like this, where we are automating the tasks we don't want to do, like admin, finance, payroll, etc., we can really focus as individuals, as teams, as corporates, use the human skills, the creativity, what we enjoy, the collaboration into tasks that we enjoy, and then automate the rest. So it's really important to have with that, a happy workplace, because as so many studies have concluded, Harvard, McKinsey, especially Gallup, they do a lot of studies on this, that happy teams, so people who are content and satisfied with their jobs, their managers, and the company, are 17% more productive. That's a really big amount, 17% more, 21% more profitable the company becomes, and you have less absences. You have 41% less people calling in sick, which that costs a lot of money for companies. People call in sick all the time. If people call on burnout leave all the time, 41% is a really good ROI. So investing in your people, making sure that they're happy in the first place. And we don't mean happy as in excited and coming into the office and like, whoa, shouting and completely, ludicrous. We want people to just be stable, content, and feeling safe in the workplace in order to have more profit in the company. Happy employees make a business successful. They will really work hard. Think about any time you've done like a DIY project, for example, and you've built a cabinet or you've built a bed or you play sports. When you're happy doing it, you're going to do it better. And that's been proven time and time again with data.
So at the end of the day, it definitely starts with leadership. I mean, because at the end of the day, I personally met a lot of good managers in my life. So managing processes, being an expert in something, I met a lot of good people there. But leadership then, as I think that employee happiness is very individual. It means probably different things for different people. So at the end of the day, does it mean that today's leaders have to be extremely sensible, that they have to be kind of empathic, that they have to get a kind of a glue of what's going on there? Because for you, probably happiness means something totally different. And we do a lot of service for developers. So we exactly try to find out what is important for developers out there all over Europe. And this is dramatically changing over time as well. So in 2019, everybody wanted to work for Zalando, everybody wanted to work for the big brands, everybody wanted to earn a hell of a lot of money because that was the time. And if we asked them last year, well-being, inclusion, diversity became much more important for them. And I think now if you ask people, probably job security is probably one issue to give you this kind of employee happiness, because you want to feel secure, you want to have your solid income probably. So what does that mean for leadership?
Oh, the $1 million question. It's tough because, yes, it is a leadership issue in a sense. I don't want to call out all leaders and say you're bad, but just blaming employees or blaming the culture or blaming the CEO, there's no point in pointing fingers and blaming people. But as a leader, you have a responsibility. And I agree, you're not a therapist. You're not meant to sit there in one-on-ones and hear your employees cry or, oh, here, and pat them on the back, etc. That's not your job. Your job is just really, really simple, right? And employee happiness, we're not asking for a Ferrari or amazing benefits or a swimming pool in the workplace. We're not asking for this. We're asking for really basic stuff. So if you do this as a leader, you are absolutely nailing it. So recognition has been proven time and time again with Gallup studies, Harvard studies, that recognition is the number one happiness metric. So just either silently, just slacking someone and telling them like, you've done a really good job, like because you did X, now we can do this with this project, like doing it silently or in front of people in the office, it doesn't matter. Loud or quiet recognition. This is what we want. This is number one. Number two is autonomy. Treat us like adults. We are adults. We're not children that need to be controlled in the playground. We are adults. We have our own schedules. We should be allowed to go to the office if we feel like it, if there's something cool going on. Or, hey, if I have loads of Zoom calls, I should work from home. There is no point in me commuting 2 hours to get to the office and then sitting in a booth all day. Autonomy has been proven again that it's the second most requested thing from employees. So if you give us recognition and you tell us what we did right, autonomy, so listen to us, listen to our requests, what we want in order to work our best. And friendships was the third thing that people need in a workplace, which is crazy. This was a Harvard study, a big study. In order for us to be happy. So this is really interesting because our boss isn't our friend. Our colleagues are not meant to be our friends either, but we do spend 90,000 hours of our lives at work. So a third of our lives, same as like a third of our lives we spent sleeping, a third of our lives we spend working. So having connections, relationships, being safe to be ourselves at work is so, so important. So if you can give us those three things as a leader, autonomy, recognition, and some kind of connection, some kind of friendship, you're gonna outsmart and outdo all the other leaders and other companies out there with regards to employee happiness.
But I want to come back to one topic that you mentioned, and I fully agree to all three of them. Autonomy. I mean, if you give people autonomy, that means that you also clearly define the direction you're going as a company. And honestly, in many, many organizations that I was working for, I was missing that from time to time, that even the management, even it was clear in their heads, it was not clearly communicated. So they all, I mean, it's like you count down from 3 to 0, and normally we are trained as people, if somebody is a 3, 2, 1, with 0 we start going somewhere. Yeah. But if the direction is not 100% clear and you have a group of people, you probably have to collect them later on again because they were all running into different directions. So how important is it to set the vision, the mission, strategy, right, to communicate it extremely clearly before you can give people the autonomy to really move on themselves, because I think that's really important.
Yeah, and that's a systemic issue, I think. It's a deeper, deeper issue. I find that in startups, in much, much smaller companies, when they crack this down, the autonomy, giving flexibility, but also building a culture simultaneously, that they are so much more ahead and successful. They move so quickly with regards to product, with customer success, with brand vision. They skyrocket compared to like the bigger companies that have just such an outdated way of working. And that, I wish I had a solution, but I think just getting to the root cause. For example, if you have a plant and one of the leaves is dying, like it's going brown from the plant, you don't cut off the leaf, you check the root and the ground, and you see, oh, it's missing this mineral, it's not enough water. And then you add the water and the plant gets better again. Same as a business, right? If you're trying to plaster and put patches on everything, and oh, maybe we just make people work harder. Oh, maybe, we just do overtime. Oh, maybe we just work on weekends. Maybe we slap AI onto this and automate this. But if the root cause isn't fixed and nobody knows what they're doing and they're just working aimlessly, it just shows. Like you can see it on the company's website, on the socials, on the products they sell. It translates into everything. And I think it's just a really big topic. But essentially on that journey, if you are trying to get to the root cause and understanding what the actual systemic issue is of the company, and can we even scratch it and start again, you can still nurture your people. You can still, as an employee, kind of mindset change and think, okay, this is forever. I need to be resilient. Like I need to set boundaries and say no. I need to ask for more things, right? You can do that as an employee to kind of protect yourself. And then as a leader, just nurture and have psychological safety for people to make mistakes, to learn things, ask you for help, because if it's a bit of a mess and you as a leader, especially middle managers, they have it really bad at the moment. They get told one thing and then, oh, we need to do this for tomorrow. Like it's kind of all over the place. So even as a middle manager or as a director, it doesn't matter. As long as you're in a leadership title, all you can do is give that safety to people, that recognition. Try and be a supportive person and try and give them some autonomy, however you can within your circumstances. Because, okay, if you're 5 days a week at the office, okay, that's what it is. But how else can you provide autonomy? Can you give that person a project, start to finish, it's theirs? There's so many other ways that you can give people autonomy, not just by hybrid working.
But that's all the very favorite discussion topic that I have, because what I think that we're really bad in Europe, overall, I think, and that has probably to do with it's lasting for many decades. Probably we are not really good in treating with failures. So I think we have a failure culture, which is normally we try to hide failures below the carpet, but to give people autonomy, to give them the trust, to give them the freedom to try things out, we need a kind of total different kind of mindset if it comes to failures as well. So
Yeah.
for me, that's a showstopper, and that's probably a blocking stone that we have along this way. And we all want to be agile, but I think agile without making failures doesn't work. So for me, that's trial and error, and I think that's the ground base of this kind of methodology. And
Yeah.
to give people the autonomy means for me that you have to live with their failures as well, and they have to live with their failures, and you have to deal open with it. What do you think about that? How good are we in Europe with doing with failure culture?
Oh, Europe is a big scope. If we talk about the Netherlands, I think we're getting there. We are moving forward. When we look at other countries like Poland, for example, I don't think we're quite there yet. The working cultures per country is just so different to assess that. But like you said as well, the more we're allowed to fail and experiment, the quicker we are getting better solutions, because we are not robots. We have to remember we work with AI, but we're not AI. So our collaborative process, our thinking process, our creative process, it's still very good. I mean, we invented fire, we invented spaceships. Like, our thought process is absolutely incredible at problem solving and creative thinking, right? But you need to allow us, whether you're a company or you're my boss, you need to allow us to get to that stage. And how can I get to that stage without imperfection? It just doesn't go that way.
That's for sure. And I mean, when I was, before I joined WeAreDevelopers a couple of years ago, I was working for Stepstone, and I was there as chief evangelist, and I was doing a lot of talks, and I was a guest in a lot of panels, and I met extremely nice and mind-blowing people at this time. And I think the hot topic there was, and I mean, it's still there, but I think it's probably still misinterpreted, was new work. And then I tried to find a kind of definition for new work for myself. And I ended up with state of the art and meaningful. And you mentioned Mr. Ford at the beginning of our talk, this 9 to 5 thingy. And then what I really try to do now is to really compare, are we still, I mean, we're still working 9 to 5. I think it's still the expectation from a lot of managers out there, from a lot of companies. People are coming to the office, being there in front of their computer screen from 9 to 5. And I always question it: is it meaningful, and is it state of the art? Yeah. And I think it's directly related. These two terms are directly related, from my point of view, to employee happiness. Because
Yeah.
what I found out is that people are not really unhappy with coming to the office, meeting their colleagues, sharing experiences, having lunch together, drinking a coffee together, working together, exchanging ideas. But I think honestly, they want to get this kind of trust. At the end of the day, it's not even freedom. I think it's trust. And that is, for me, the state of the art side of the coin. And the meaningfulness means, as we are working in a more and more digital business, I mean, at the end of the day, you also mentioned, if we are building a bed, if we're putting the parts together, and at the end of the day we have a bed in our bedroom, or if we change the curtains or the carpet, at the end of the day we normally walk in the evening into the room and say, oh, this is nice now. Yeah. So we see what we have done, what we have achieved. And as more we're working in digital businesses, everything disappears somewhere in a cloud. It's an email. Yeah, all our productivity is spent in a computer screen, in a way. And at the end of the day, and I honestly, I had this situation quite often for myself. At the end of the day, I walk out of the office in the evening. I'm exhausted in a way, but then I think, what have I really achieved and done today? And it's very difficult to answer this question. So, isn't it important that we make these kind of successes or the productivity visible again? Is that a part of employee happiness?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you're absolutely right. What you've mentioned is something called the IKEA effect. You can Google it after this call. It's a really big study that they've done. And essentially, it's humans only find success when they do something tangible with their hands. And this is why a side hobby like playing sports, start to finish, you score, you win, you're done, right? DIY, if you buy a cabinet from IKEA or a bed, you build it from start to finish, you see it, you're done. You climb a mountain, climb to the top, you look down, you finished it. So that part of our brain has not kept up with the whole technological, especially digital working age. So this is why we feel so unfulfilled. We have our jobs here, we have our jobs on our laptops, and we get rewarded for our ideas. We don't get rewarded for physical, tangible things we were doing in factory work, in agriculture. It is purely online and it's 24/7. So this is why a lot of us, including me, have a really, really hard time switching off. And even 10 years ago, I remember I used to have a physical PC at my desk at work. And when it was 5 p.m., I would shut it down and it would stay at the office. So I could not bring anything home with me. And now I can answer an email at 9 p.m. Oh, that's really quick. I'll just reply to this quick Teams message. But that's still working. And this is why we can't switch off. So it's really, really important for anyone listening to this, please look at the IKEA effect study. It just puts into place that we need to make our work tangible and physical in some way. So this is what I teach in my workshops, whether you work as a finance controller in finance or in recruitment and HR in tech, particularly development. I give some techniques on how to make your work physical again, to show your brain, oh, I achieved this. That's really good. I don't have to think about that anymore. Even if you do projects online and you put something in a folder and you say, okay, done, your brain just doesn't register it as complete because things can go wrong. It might not boot up properly. It might, the download might fail, or the project might not be exported properly. You know, there's so many things you can just go back into and amend and edit and the writing was done wrong, please copyright it properly again. That it's just constant. It's just 24/7. So this is, exactly what I teach in my workshops too, that you can just make any kind of digital job more tangible, more physical, and you can feel better about your work, because this is a really big problem at the moment in the digital workplace.
Do you have a small quick win tip which everybody can take out of this podcast? So to do this, I mean, just one small simple trick.
Oh gosh, no pressure. Yeah, it can honestly be. So one of the things that the study found is something very quick and simple. Don't do a notes app because that's digital. A physical notepad with a pen and just writing down what you achieved for this day and what you're going to do tomorrow. That closes the chapter in your head. And you're just like, shut down complete. Like, I'm done for the day. Just doing that increases happiness by 10%. And this is a really, really quick, small win, but I do have more tailored approaches for like design teams, DevOps teams, etc. It depends on what industry you're working in as well.
Well, it's a wonderful, nice one. And I think it's really a nice one. What I do is from time to time, I really write letters to people by hand. So I really write them a letter because, I mean, we normally send emails, we send WhatsApp. And sometimes I really use a sheet of paper and I'm really writing letters, handwritten letters to people I adore, which are really, if I want to tell them something really important, I normally write them a letter. And they're really surprised. Yeah. And yeah. If we now go a little bit into the cultural aspect, and if we want to what does it mean? I mean, for me, for example, it initially started probably with Mr. Ford again. So people were doing work and they got money at the end of the month or the end of the week at this time probably. And what is your take on? I personally find in days like this, I normally, as a company, give you money at the end of the month. That is unchanged. So I think that definitely hasn't changed. But what we get from our employees is creativity, it's ideas, it's time, lifetime. Yeah. So is the deal becoming unfair?
Ooh, I love how you framed this. There's a lot of predictions about the future, whether companies are just going to hire freelancers more frequently because of the changing scopes of work, of projects, of trends. That's a kind of trending topic. I've recently seen a keynote from a CEO of Mind Valley about his prediction that we're going to work 3-day work weeks and 4-day weekends because we're going to automate everything. This is a few years down the line, and this is very wishful thinking. But we're going to be paid the same, but work 3 days because we've automated all of the stuff we don't want to do, and we keep our cognitive mind, our creative mind in the really, really important things. And that's a really optimistic approach, but I absolutely love that. Whether it's fair to pay someone at the end of the month for their work. Oh, it depends. I mean, one of my favorite jobs, I worked 5 days a week in the office. Absolutely loved this job. I remember once it was snowing so bad in the UK. It was like 6 centimeters of snow or something like that. I walked for like 18 minutes. I got a taxi. I made sure I went to the office because I loved it so much. So that's why the work from home versus on-site debate is irrelevant, because it depends on how you get treated at work, and the return on investment, right? Like the return on recognition. So my favorite job was 5 days in the office, and I got paid bi-weekly every 2 weeks. And I really liked that because it was just split in half, and like I managed my money better. That's just a personal thing, but I just felt like I was appreciated every 2 weeks. I was compensated every 2 weeks, and that was really interesting. But I've also been a freelancer and paid per hour. I've been paid quarterly when I did projects, etc., and monthly. So yeah, regarding being fairly compensated for the work you do, it really, really depends. I think we're so used to monthly payments, but there are so many options. Like I said, you can do bi-weekly. That's pretty awesome. You can let people work part-time and pay them for full-time because you're more efficient. And a rested employee also equals a happy employee as well. There's just so many angles to this. I've just heard so many predictions and rumors about the future that it's really hard to like give a direct answer.
Yeah, it was not only do we get the money bi-weekly or monthly, it's more, is money the right compensation for getting ideas, getting all my creativity, getting my lifetime? And at the end of the day, you give me money for it as a company. So at the end of the day, I think it's probably it leads me to my next question, and probably this was the second last which I want to raise in this discussion, because if I look on the recording clock, I mean, we are already at nearly at the end of the discussion. We could probably continue for another 2 hours. How important is purpose?
I go on and off this question because personally, I don't think you need purpose in a role. Hot take, I don't think you need purpose. I just think, again, you need recognition, autonomy, and friendships at work in order to feel really, really satisfied and fulfilled, because you can have purpose with a lot of things. I feel like putting people's purpose in one thing, like my only love isn't just recruitment. I also love gaming. I also love my cats. I also love cooking. I have lots of purposes. So I think my hot take is I don't believe in purpose because we are so complex as people and we can pivot. I've pivoted my career 4 times. So you can really, I think purpose doesn't matter. That's my final answer.
Okay, thanks for that. Cool one. And the last one, how important is communication?
Oh, that's everything. Honest communication, because I have worked in companies where they over communicated. It was like every week we had a town hall and they weren't saying the truth. So, okay, they spoke a lot, but their words didn't mean anything, and we lost trust very, very quickly. So I think honest communication is really, really important. The speaking for the sake of it, just don't say anything.
Okay. Good one. And I have an addition to that. I think communication is not a one-way road. So don't expect, as employees, don't expect everything communicated top down. So it's also allowed to raise questions and to go for communication and to ask for communication, because I think that's also very important. And I think a lot of managers are normally blamed for not communicating enough, but it's definitely not a one-way road. So that's I think that's really important to recognize as well. I think it's like democracy. I think it's not kind of sitting in the first row in a cinema and watching the people doing something for us. I think it's also active participation. That's very important from my side as well. I wanted to add that. Lizzie, it was a pleasure. I think we have you on stage at our World Congress and at our HR Leaders Summit. So could we get a kind of a really quick sneak what you will be talking about?
Well, you said you wanted to carry this on for 2 hours. Well, that's what's going to happen. It's going to be 45 minutes, the workshop, but I'm super excited just to teach people how to not hack your mindset, but reframe your mindset and get control back in your working life, especially if you've got layoffs, things outside of your control. How can you regain that control and be sane in your work? So I feel like it's a very much needed lecture/workshop, and I'm really looking forward to explain it to people.
And we are really happy that you will join us. And thank you very much for taking your time today. It was a pleasure talking to you. And for the audience out there, if you want to see Daisy live on stage, so we will drop, definitely, if we launch this episode, we will drop all the links in the sub somewhere to get the tickets and be with us in July in Berlin. I'm really looking forward to that. It was a pleasure having you. Thank you very much for your time once again. And dear audience, stay tuned. We will come back soon with another episodes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching Cappuccino with HR. If you enjoy this kind of conversations, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Then you get all this kind of upfront information, your upcoming episodes, and all my nice guests. Cappuccino with HR is brought to you by WeAreDevelopers, Europe's #1 developer community and a leading platform for connecting HR and companies together with developers. If you want to learn more, visit us on WeAreDevelopers.com. Thank you again for watching, and see you next time on Cappuccino with HR.